Whenever Peyton and Eli come in town, we'll work out, throw. And now that they're both retired, we're not really competing. So now they just give me all the advice I need and they help me out. Whenever they say like, oh, you're skinny, like what's your bench? I just be like, well, what's your 40? And yeah, then they won't talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, let the hype train continue. Arch Manning has been ranked the #1 quarterback in the country for the class of 2023. In this video, we're going to dive further into the scouting of Arch, and we have some updates on where he could end up playing college football, including 2 major schools to watch out for, as well as a quote from Cooper Manning that gives us some insight into the major decision. But before we get into things, let me say, I guess I'm starting to develop this weird niche on YouTube where people come to me for NFL family content. So I guess if that's your thing, then please subscribe. I'll have more Arch Manning content down the line, and I've already got videos on the McCaffrey family, Emmitt Smith IV, SHEDEUR Sanders, the next in line for primetime, and of course I have regular NFL content as well, so please support the channel by subbing it up.
Oh, you failed to mention the talking box.
So the last time we saw Arch playing varsity football as a freshman, he was 6'1". And plenty of you were amazed at that height at that age. Now guess what? This kid is still growing at a torrid pace. He now measures at 6'3", and for reference, Peyton and Eli were 6'5", while his dad Cooper was 6'4", and his granddad Archie was 6'3". Arch has also gotten into the weight room to add some pounds for protection. So now that he's reached this size, he's pretty much guaranteed NFL characteristics, not that that was ever in any doubt. But worth mentioning how he's already shaping up to have that quarterback body, and he's still a sophomore in high school. Now let's get into why Arch is ranked 24/7 Sports #1 quarterback in the country for the class of 2023. Here's what one of their analysts had to say. Quote, Arch Manning is not ranked as high because his last name is Manning. Let's be clear about that. He had arguably the best freshman season of any quarterback nationally, and despite having all eyes on him, he threw for 34 touchdowns and just 6 interceptions, 2,400 yards. What really kind of impressed me was he throws the ball well, kind of like you would expect. He's mechanically sound, but he made a lot of plays with his feet, improvising, just kind of a creative player, and not what you would really think of when you think of Peyton Manning, Eli Manning in structure, go through your reads type of quarterback. He really kind of resembled maybe more of the play style of his grandfather a little more, who was a lot more of a scrambler. Arch didn't look like an inexperienced freshman, being advanced for this age, and is not overwhelmed by the speed of the game. He's got a strong mechanical base as a passer, and throws a nice tight football on video. Apart from his production and overall play, I really like the improvisational playmaking ability we saw at times. Most freshmen are trying to keep their heads above water this early, but Manning is spinning out of tackles and making off-schedule plays with his arm and feet. I just gotta say, the more and more we hear about Arch, the easier it gets to be excited for what he could become. Of course, the Mannings have traditionally been known for their football minds, just as much or more than their physical skill set. It sounds like Arch has both of those, as well as the all-important mindset to improve. His head coach, Nelson Stewart, said, he's one of those kids, if he's 21 of 23, he wants to focus on the 2 incompletions. He likes to get coached, and he doesn't always think he's right. There is an authenticity to him and a humbleness to him, and he doesn't have all the answers. He has a team-based approach, great work ethic, and he's incredibly humble. He's all about his teammates, all about getting better. Everything is earned, nothing is given. I think that's the biggest thing. Now, we already talked about some of the connections Arch would have at some schools in the last video, but now we have an updated list of the schools he's actually received offers from. Combining the 24/7 Sports and Rivals list, we have Alabama, Arkansas, Duke, Florida State, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, North Carolina, Tennessee, Boston College, and Texas.
Wow, all those schools. But my source tells me he's going to Boston College.
But a local Louisiana reporter said to watch for Clemson and Oklahoma. He said, when I look at it, who are the two schools that you can name that have pumped out these quarterbacks? Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, quarterback whisperer. Clemson, just look at what Clemson has had, and it kind of dominoes with Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, and the next cat they're going to have after Trevor is pretty doggone good too. I would keep my eye on Oklahoma and Clemson. Of course, there's family connections at Ole Miss and Tennessee, and LSU has more local pull and recent quarterback success, which I guess is an understatement with the season Joe Burrow had. Anyway, Sports Illustrated has Arch's top suitors as Ole Miss, LSU, Tennessee, Duke, and Georgia. Apparently, people around the Mannings are pushing for LSU. Cooper said, it's funny, all my good friends locally in New Orleans are big LSU fans. So they've been giving him a hard time for a long time about coming up to Baton Rouge. They've got a great program and Coach O has done an unbelievable job. From what I've read on Arch's recruitment, it could be a while before he commits. And Arch's coach has said this himself based off what he's hearing from Cooper. The family is looking for an old school recruitment where the relationships matter, not the glitz and glamour of a new locker room with all these extra toys. Players don't actually need to play football. If you follow the recruitments of some of these high school athletes, you'll see they announce their offers on Twitter like kids collecting Pokemon cards. Obviously, these are major accomplishments for these kids, and there's no problem with being proud, but it's clear Arch seems to be taking it, I guess you could say humbly, or maybe more strictly professionally. It just seems like he'll be taking his visits more like a business trip. I mean, after all, this kid was primed to be an NFL quarterback, and now he's kind of officially starting the process for that path. We're pretty much talking football royalty here, and it sounds like the hype will continue to build from here on out. This could become one of the biggest recruiting battles in the history of college football. Arch doesn't just bring professionalism, what will be 4 years of varsity experience and dual threat ability. He brings something no other player probably can, and that's on the business side of things. The Manning name, with the skill he has, will sell merchandise, increase demand for tickets, and will result in way more primetime games for whatever school can reel in this big fish. Like I mentioned in the last video on the Manning family, Archie had the speed limit on the Ole Miss campus adjusted to his number 18. This is football royalty, and during recruitment, you can bet Arch will be treated like Kane Manning III. His decision will rock the college football landscape. And you can also bet I'll be making more videos on him in the future.
Well, I lost my fantasy football draft, and it was either dye my hair blonde or shave the middle, so I just went with the blonde.